Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I am so excited today because sitting in the guest chair is Daphne Maxwell Reid, the one and only from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And Daphne and I are going to be talking today on breaking barriers on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She was the first Black woman to do a lot of things. And now, as you know, she's in the twilight of her career. She's starting new projects and doing great things. So I am super, super excited to talk to her and share her with you. So welcome, Daphne.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. So let me give you guys a little bit background information. We all know her as Aunt Viv on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but she has more things that she's done in her life than that. So let me give you a brief bio. Daphne Maxwell Reid continues to thrive as a creative entrepreneur and artist, continuing to dazzle anyone who knows her with her bold spirit, grace, and work ethic. One of the first African-American women to make the cover of Glamour magazine and one of television's history's most beloved sitcom moms on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Reid now balances her acting gigs with her work as a photographic artist, clothing designer, and education activist, demonstrating that it's never too late to pursue new passions and find new opportunities. Being among the first of a few Black women to work in popular television reminds me that one doesn't choose to be a pioneer, she says today. One does what comes next in their journey, and sometimes you just happen to be the first to do it. I just happen to land in that slot of being the first of some things, but being the first doesn't mean anything if it doesn't seed the growth of a lot more. Daphne worked in dozens of television series in the 1980s, guest starring in shows like WKRP in Cincinnati, where, fun fact, she worked with her husband, Tim Reid, to whom she's been married to since 1982. Nice.
Hey, going on 40 years.
Yeah. She also worked on Hill Street Blues, Simon and Simon, and the acclaimed series Frank's Place opposite Tim. But it was the role of Vivian Banks in the last 3 seasons of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with Will Smith that endeared her to new generations of fans, including myself. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Well, okay. I just finished reading Will Smith's book, Will. And one of the things he said in the book is that everybody on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was talented. And I know that you took on the second Vivian Banks role in season 4, but can you tell us your journey up until that point and how did that role shape your life?
Wow, it was another job. That's how it shaped my life. I had done a bunch of back-to-back series, including the one that you mentioned earlier, Frank's Place and Simon and Simon. And Tim and I had worked a lot, and we were getting ready to move to Virginia. And I think it was 1989 that the show started being cast. And my agent said, we've got a show for you to go read for. It's a sitcom, half-hour sitcom with a rap star. And I said, no.
Most people would have.
No, thank you. Enjoy your time there. So we moved and I saw the fall shows come on, and there is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it was so cute. I said, well, go on living, doing other things. I was doing projects with McCall Pattern Company and QVC, so I was busy, but I was in Virginia. Okay. 3 years later, I get a call saying, we want you to come and audition for the role of Aunt Vivian on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I said, there is an Aunt Vivian on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. but I'll come. So I went, and myself and 200 other women showed up, and
Wow.
we had a casting session that went on about 2 weeks. And
Wow.
about the third audition, I got to work with James Avery,
Hmm.
and we clicked. Yeah, I fell in love with that huggable, wonderful man,
I know.
and we remained friends the rest of his life. He and his wife and Tim and I used to travel together during the show when we were off, and he was just a dream.
Yeah.
And I guess that chemistry sold because they hired me.
Okay.
And I got to go and become one of that wonderful family. We are truly a family of friends. We have stayed in touch all these 30 years that we've been together.
30 years, yeah.
And
And
it's
I know
amazing.
it's 30 years because Will Smith said it, I think it was 22 or something, and now he's like 52 or older. So I
Yeah,
know
it's
it's
been a
30
while.
years.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
And it's amazing that the show has such legs, and we're on our third generation of people who come up to me and say, "You're Aunt Vivian." I'm going, "Yeah." But you didn't know back then. This was 30 years ago. You didn't know what the reception of the audience was, except by the numbers that you get from the network. There was no social media and all
Right,
that kind of stuff. So we were just doing a show. We
right.
were having a lot of fun, and we got good numbers. So they let us continue to do it.
Mhm.
And the end of the fifth year, Will told us that we will only be doing one more season. He was doing movies. He's an incredible businessman.
Mhm.
And watching him grow from where I started with him to the man that he became, I just was very, very proud of him.
Yes.
So 6 years, we had our last episode. We cried, but we all stayed in touch with each other.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. So you and Will Smith are still friends? Do you talk to him? Or we have this situation now where I am so sorry for him. My heart goes out to him because, like I said, I've always admired him because of the huge movie star he's become, and I watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, when it was on, and the reruns and all the things that's been happening. So I've always loved Will Smith. So when I read his book, I kind of understand where he was coming from. As soon as he did it, I dropped right into that space about him not wanting to be a coward. And he starts off the book by talking about him being a coward. So have you spoken to him since this episode about the slap on the Oscars? And I don't think he was ever violent. So what is your opinion of all that?
I have spoken to him, and I don't share my opinion.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
It's family business. I love the man. That's all I
Yeah.
got to say.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. All right. So at least you've spoken to him, probably offered him some condolences and all that. So that's
Fine.
good. All right. I respect that. All right.
Okay.
So I went back and I looked at a couple of episodes of The Fresh Prince, just so that I can talk to you about a few episodes. And it was really incredible that 2 of the top 10 episodes that you were in talked about 2 things that Will kind of did later on in his life. The first one was when Hillary boyfriend was proposing to her, and he did the bungee jump and he splashed on the ground, and you had this great comeback on that by saying, the Lord give it and the Lord take it. Do you want to talk about that episode? And why didn't that scare the bejesus out of Will? Why would he do bungee jumping 30 years later?
Probably because he wanted to get over the fear of bungee jumping. If you watch his National Geographic shows, you see
Mhm.
that he's working his way through his fears and
Mhm.
confronting them and getting over them and getting past them, encouraging people to do that. So I'm sure the bungee jump episode was sadly funny
Yeah,
at
I
the
know, right? Right,
time.
right, right.
And but if it had happened to anybody that we knew, that probably would not have been funny.
Right, right. What about your line, "The Lord giveth and the Lord take it away"? Did you have experience with that?
Well, we know in life, you get some, you lose some,
Right.
and depends on how you handle either is where you go on your journey.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Okay, it's good. Yeah, because a lot of people, a lot of Christians say that, and it's very true, right? Once you're up, once you're down. We can even use that analogy for, Will Smith being the biggest movie star, and Lord giveth, and with the other hand, he's taken away because the devil, like Denzel Washington said,
Yeah.
the devil comes for you, and sometimes you've got to be able to resist him. Now, the second one that I wanted to talk about, and Will talked about it in his book, is that episode where the father situation with Ben Vereen, where he came into his life and then he left. And you had this scene where you said to Ben Vereen, if you walk out of this kid's life, again, don't come back. So what was your relationship with your father? I know that, Will Smith had a love-hate relationship with his father, and his father, abuse of them as a child is what is we're seeing the results of today. Can you talk on that? Like, what was your relationship with your father? What was your childhood like?
My childhood was idyllic. I came from a mother and father who were loving and supportive. Yeah, my daddy used to spank my behind when he thought I needed it, but I don't call that abuse. I call that discipline, and sometimes it's needed. Maybe once or twice, and you get the message.
Right.
But I had a wonderful father. He was he was a mentor on so many fronts, as was my mother. She is the person that I am striving to become. And I had no problems as a child. I was brought up in the projects, as they call them. They're just low income housing that my father was able to get into because he was in the army.
Mhm.
But it was a neighborhood of wonderful people. It was a community. It was multiracial. It was multi-ethnic. It
Mhm.
was an exposure to all kinds of people. But that's what New York City was like back in the
New York.
50s and
Right.
60s.
Okay. All right.
So I grew up in a very multicultural, supportive environment. I am not one whose father left. I knew people who had fathers who left,
Mhm.
but I've never been touched by that kind of drama.
It's
And
beautiful.
the concern of this episode was
Mhm.
that he made himself vulnerable again. And they addressed the same issue in the new show, Bel Air,
Mm.
where his father comes back and finds out where his father has been. And then in the new Bel Air, he sends his father away.
Mm. Okay.
So there's
So he's the
different
one
ways.
that said, if you leave, don't come back, instead of you. Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah. But I think from the character's point of view in the original episode,
Mhm.
there was enough pain,
Mhm.
and we know what pain he went through when his father first left,
Right.
and we didn't want to see him in that kind of pain again.
Yeah. And which is basically what you told him. If you walk out, don't ever
Yeah.
come back. And he did walk out, so, but it was, I guess when the writers put that together, they were probably trying to address, a Black culture where we all grew up, a lot of us grew up with not the similar experience that you have a
Right.
mother and father in the home. The majority of them grew up without a father. So I'm pretty sure that episode, again, when you're dealing with some, important issues and trying to make it funny, but that episode was had a point.
Yeah.
And of
And
course,
it's
with
painful.
Will and his own personal dad, I think it was very emotional for him. And that's why he talks about it in his book. And now you're saying that they're still bringing it up in the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that's out now.
Yeah, because the storyline is basically the same.
Okay.
But in the hour format, they have the ability to dig deeper into each of the characters and see
Mhm.
a well-rounded character that we don't have time to do in a half-hour
In 30
sitcom. We have
minutes, right?
5 different opinions on how to confront this issue. And sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, but as a family, we get a solution to whatever the challenge is.
That's beautiful. Yes. And yes, your husband was a rock. He was not only funny, but he acted that part very, very well. And I know that Will said that, he
Brilliant.
fit that role of the fatherhood that he needed. So it was beautiful that you guys were a real family. And I think that's what happens when you work together for,
Not
5, 6 years.
necessarily. Not necessarily. I have had other series that I've been on, and you might befriend 1 or 2 people in the show, but it's never been this close a family with
To the
any
whole
of the
thing.
shows that
Right.
I've done.
Right.
So this
Well,
is like,
that's amazing. All right. Excellent. All right. Now let's talk about transforming your career at 60 or in their 60s. So you said that you woke up on your 60th birthday and realized that you've been opening doors and breaking barriers for younger generations for a long time. In the bio, you mentioned that. Um, uh, so um, uh, so what were some of the barriers your career has broken down? And do you still think that you're breaking down some barriers?
I think my existence is breaking down a barrier in many, many situations. And if it's nothing more than just educating people that people like me exist, and they are not all categorically one way or another,
Okay.
then that is a barrier to break, because there's a lot of misconception about our community.
Mhm.
And we have strived all the years we've been in television to show a broader range of our community, show the people that we grew up with as well, and not just the characterizations created by the dominant culture of what they think Black people do and how they are. We had the freedom on Fresh Prince to sit around the table with the writers when we got the scripts and say, no, I think culturally, this is different from where we're coming from. And they were able to listen and adapt to the cultural specificities that we presented. And it was very respectful and a great place to work. Tim and I have been doing a lot of television since the 70s. And when we had the authority, the power to make sure that the people behind the camera reflected what we were presenting in front of the camera, we took that opportunity to do that. And Tim is famous for creating heads of departments where there didn't used to be any in the Black community.
Mhm.
So he's got a whole legacy of changing behind the camera what you never saw before. And
Right.
now it's so refreshing. I went to work on Bel Air for 1 episode, and behind the camera was the most diverse, young, vibrant group of folk. I was pleased
Yeah.
that whatever contribution we made in the 70s and 80s and 90s to make this more normal, I am so pleased that it is expressed at this time.
Yeah. So that's amazing that you said that, because and it's really interesting that I came to the consciousness just a couple weeks ago. I was on Xfinity, and they have a category called the Black Experience. So I went on to that category, and everything on there is about, the woman can't pay her rent and she is evicted and all that. And I said to myself, why can't they show a Black experience like the Kardashians? You know what I mean? That's what I want to see. You know what I mean? I don't want to see struggle. I don't want to see the Black person homeless or whatever. but you're right. So what you guys did in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, one, it's Bel-Air. Two, you showed a beautiful house. Everybody was a professional, right? And everybody was wealthy. And then I noticed that Herman Inslee played on an episode when I was reviewing back on an episode, and he's the other one that started to break those stereotypical barriers with moving on up, the Jeffersons. Yeah. So yes, you guys open doors, but the door needs to be wider. It needs to, the Black experience doesn't have to be all struggle. What was that?
It needs to show all of our experiences. We are not a monolithic group.
No.
We are as diverse as any other nationality, race, whatever. We have a lot of diversity. We have successes, we have failures.
Yeah.
So does everybody.
Yeah.
So let's show a wide berth so people can see that we are not monolithic. And when we have control of the content, which is something we have continually strived to do.
Right.
When we have control, we have the ability to express those kinds of differences.
Yeah, that's great. And even the Black actresses or the whether they're actors or actresses, they're always striving for better roles too, because they always want to pigeonhole you into the Black experience where you're, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to show a millionaire or billionaire Black person in a show or whatever, because, and I believe that that's necessary. I believe that that's necessary.
It's changing, and a lot of the change is because there are more platforms to show work than there used to be. It used to be only 3 networks, and that was it for if you wanted to see something on that little box. But now there's so many platforms, and there's so many people who are taking the helm of producing and green-lighting projects that reflect what they want to show. I had the honor of being in the movie Harriet. And what was so much of an honor for me, I had one line: I could care less. I wanted to be around a Black female director, a Black female producer, a Black male fashion designer, and Cynthia Erivo.
Yes.
Enough said. I mean, it was such an honor to work in that environment where you feel the passion from each one of them to make this one of the best things you've ever seen. It was a remarkable working experience that I'll treasure.
That's amazing. That's true. And the Academy rewarded it because they won several awards. I think Cynthia won something too. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, she did. So that's amazing. All right. So you also talked about being the first on many things. Like you talked about being the first on the cover of Glamour. So I think you started off as a model, and you want to touch on that. What are some of the things that you were the first of?
Oh, I was the first Black homecoming queen at Northwestern University when there were probably only 100 Black students there in a population of 5,000.
Beautiful.
It was not a great experience. I can start there. So being the first is not always a fun thing to do. And then I was the first Black woman on the cover of Glamour magazine. There was a Black Canadian girl on the cover of Glamour college issue.
Okay.
She was probably a couple of months before mine, but I'm the first American Black girl on the cover of Glamour magazine. And it was as much a surprise to me as it was to anybody else. It was just another shoot that they called me to do. And matter of fact, I don't know if the shoot took more than 15 minutes, but I walked by the news
cover.
Oh my God, I'm on the cover. It was a great experience. And it was part of a series of wonderful experiences of flying back and forth between Chicago and New York to do modeling. And at the same time, get all my studies in, at the same time, marry my college sweetheart. At the same time, it was a time of busy. And it went on after I graduated. I continued to model, but did a lot more modeling in Chicago. And
Mhm.
then I discovered narration, where you didn't have to put on makeup when you go to work. And,
I know that's a drag in it.
oh, and I also started being cast in commercials. And I
Okay.
realized that you really can make a living at this. So I
Yes.
said, okay, I'll pursue this. And Robert Conrad came to Chicago to do a show called The Duke,
Mhm.
a series that he wanted to shoot in Chicago. And he hired me to have a recurring role in it. And that
Mm.
was my first foot in the door onto television. I had done local television in Chicago, but I had never done national television.
Network. You're right. Network television. Right. Right.
So
Okay.
had a wonderful time doing that series. And when I got divorced and moved out to Los Angeles,
Mhm.
I saw Robert Conrad, who had another show called A Man Called Sloan.
Okay.
And of course, I said, "Hi, how are you? I'm in LA now." And he said, "Oh, I've got a show next week. I want you to have this role on that show. Here, go see these guys, pick an agent, and let's get to work."
That's so beautiful.
It was a dream come true to any
Yes.
actor to hit the
Yes.
ground running. And it
Mm.
has been busy ever since. I have been so blessed. I've I think that I have been in the right place when the stars align, and I've been prepared to take advantage of the opportunities. And I
Yeah.
think that's how my career has been, because I'm not the actor who says, "Oh my God, I gotta act. I
Yeah.
gotta have a role."
Oh my God, I want to be this, I want to do that. But there's a word for that, and that word is grace. So that's amazing. Obviously, you have some internal peace.
And grace.
Your grandparents or somebody prayed up for you,
Yeah, I
and
got it.
you've been walking in
God
grace.
gave it to me. Yes. And I want to honor him by making sure that I bring integrity to all the roles that I participate in, and to bring some joy and lift some other people up. That's what I want to do as a purpose
Yeah,
for why I'm walking this earth.
yeah, yeah, that's good. And comedy does that. So, did you stick to comedy more, or did you do some drama?
Oh, I did lots of drama.
You did lots of
Oh,
drama. Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. Even
All
my
right.
WKRP was a drama.
It was a drama. I thought that was a funny show. I mean, I'm trying to
It
remember it.
is.
Okay, but it
Not
was
my
drama. Okay, all
episode.
right.
My episode, I sent Venus Flytrap to jail.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't able to go back and look at that one, but right.
Uh,
Okay, so now let's talk about your beautiful marriage. You've been married to Tim Reid, writer, director, producer since 1982. What do you feel is a recipe for a successful marriage in Hollywood? Do you still live in LA?
oh, no, no.
Okay.
In Hollywood, we would have been, we're 40 years by regular calendars, but in Hollywood, it would be like 160, because
Yeah.
uh, it's a lot of people get their egos busted in Hollywood. And okay, if you're not standing on your own 2 feet, you're going to have a problem.
Right.
But what I think our secret to success is we learn how to fight fair, and we respect each other. And you have to start with a basis of respect, because that flame that gets you together in the first place doesn't burn for 40 years. So
No.
you gotta deal with this
Yeah.
person who you have chosen to be with,
Yeah.
and you cannot change anyone. So stop trying to change people. They are who they are. Deal with it. So that goes both ways, and always bring something to the relationship. Don't go there just to take.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have something to give in the relationship so you can grow together and allow each other to grow in the way that they personally need to grow. It's hard work. It takes some effort. It takes learning how to fight fair and perseverance.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
also takes some love.
Yes, of course. Love have to be there, else it's not going to work. But you're right. The love transforms itself from the passion to respect. Well, respect is always has to be there, but it transforms itself into just loving to being together and doing life together and things like that. So that is true. What was
You
that?
gotta wish the best for each other. I mean, if you start to tear down their desires to grow, you're really setting a bad example, because
Yeah,
they can turn around and tear down your desire to grow. And
yeah,
stagnation is not a good component to have in a marriage.
right. It's true. But also, as you were just saying that, you're talking about how it's toxic in LA. And I think that's actually one of the things that you just stomped on, because everybody has their egos. And let's say you're married to your wife and her career is doing better than yours. You've got a little bit of jealousy in there, and then you know what I mean? I think that's what happens in Hollywood, and that's why there's always these
No, I
problems.
don't want to live there.
Right, exactly.
They're
Yeah.
done that, gotta get out of town.
Yeah. But Tim, you're saying is still in the acting field,
So am I.
and you said you did Harriet, so you're probably still doing some acting works, right?
Oh, I'm doing a lot of acting work. Yeah, I've got a show coming on Thursday on BET called Trophy Wife. I've got
Nice.
Fantasy Island coming on sometime on Fox TV. I've got
Beautiful.
Black Lady Sketch Show is coming on. I've been on Bel Air. I've been busy. It's been a great season for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't see those. So that's beautiful. You mentioned that Tim is still working, but you're still working too. All right. So that's awesome. All right. So you also, as far, we were talking, I went on your website, and as we were talking on your bio, you've also have a cookbook, or several, I think 4, and a
No, just
fashion
one
line
cookbook.
called, how
Just
many?
one cookbook,
Just one.
4 photo books.
Oh, okay. Yes, because I was on there and I saw 4 of something. All right. So yeah, tell us about your cookbook and your photo book and your fashion line.
I got photos, and when I take photos, I do things with them. I made tote bags this year because COVID kept me from traveling and I couldn't take more pictures. I always do a line of coats, and I still do custom coats, and that's one of them that I do.
Right.
And I stay busy because I like staying busy. And I have some talents to share, and I continue to share them. I made masks during COVID. I still make masks because I put a HEPA filter in them, and they're safe to wear, but they're also stylish. So I make them for donation pieces for different art groups that I work with. I design fabrics that I use to make these masks. I design fabrics for any use. I like to take these journeys of exploration and see where they lead me. And since I turned 60, many years ago, and I started my photographic journey and decided that I was going to be a photographic artist. So I had to learn what that meant and how to do it. And I started with gallery shows, and I started making note cards and prints that you put on the wall. And they just evolved into stories that I've told about my travel, which turned into books, which turned into a wonderful, wonderful way to travel. And I do a lot of that. And COVID shut me down for a couple of years.
Yeah, I know,
So
right?
I do something with my prints. So I designed this fabric and made these tote bags. And I decided that I'm only going to do a limited edition of this and make them valuable.
Yeah. Anything that's limited edition is valuable. So that's awesome. So your photographic journey, is it what's in the books? Is it scenery, people?
Nope.
What?
Only doors. I only take pictures of doors.
Oh, that's amazing.
And they are, to me, a metaphor for life. And I want to encourage people by looking at my doors to see what I saw at that moment, because I only take one picture of each door, to
Oh my
see what
gosh.
I see at that moment, how God lit it, how the craftsman crafted it, the colors, the texture. Noticing the details of your life makes your journey very rich. Don't go from A to B just to get to B. Make sure that you pay attention to the details of getting to B, because that enriches your journey and makes for a wonderful, joyful life.
No, that's a perfect metaphor and analogy to end the Transform Your Mind show on, because that is amazing. I did not notice that, and I've actually never heard that. But yeah, how many times do we notice a door? It is, we just use it as an entry point. So
Right.
that's beautiful. If you stop and look, in fact, I was doing some visualization the other day, and they said that whenever you walk into the door of your house, that you should picture yourself walking into your dream life. You think I ever do that?
Take a second. It only takes a couple of seconds to register.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at the light. Look how the light is coming in the window. This is really beautiful. It's lighting up that leaf on it. You just notice the details in life, and it really is enriching.
Yeah.
Don't just hold that phone and walk around. Open yourself up and live your life. Don't
Yeah.
just look for it to be animated in front of you.
Yeah. Now that's wise advice. Very, very wise advice, So, Sadhguru is someone that I listen to a lot, and I learned from him. And he talked about paying attention, paying attention to your inner world, right? So I've started doing that, paying
Good.
attention, because we don't even pay attention. We breathe automatically. Everything goes on automatically in our lives, in our body, and we never pay attention. So what you're talking about is paying attention to things in life. And then once you start doing that, then maybe you can bring it internally. So
Right.
that is
Your
beautiful.
your health depends on you paying attention to what your body is responding to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You listen to it and pay attention to it, it will guide you to what you need for your
Yes.
body.
Yes. And 99% of people do not pay attention to it. So at least I've started that path, paying attention to your body, what's going on in there. Wow. Daphne, this has been a wonderful conversation. We traversed.
We got the world here.
Yeah, we traversed, from the 70s all the way to 2000s. And I'm so grateful that you were breaking barriers back then, and you can continue to be a trendsetter. You continue to work. You love what you do, and you have got something to impart called wisdom. So yes, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So how can our listeners connect with you? Tell us about your website. Tell us about how they can get copies of your, I'm traveling in a couple of weeks. I might even try to get one of your fancy masks. So tell us where we can get all those.
DaphneMaxwellReid.com. And if you type DAPHNE, it'll pop up. But DaphneMaxwellReid.com has everything about me, what I've been doing, what I'm going to do, what I've done.
I love it.
Join me, look at what I have to serve with, what I have to offer you to share. And Mother's Day is coming, so there's some lovely Mother's Day gifts on that.
Yes. Okay. So that's perfect. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you. Well, I'll go on there and do some shopping. And like I said, I'll probably get a tote bag, and I'll definitely get a mask so I can look fly when I'm traveling, because I like the fact that you said you've got the extra HIPAA filter. Now, these people are talking some nonsense about you not wanting to wear a mask on the airplane.
I don't care what they do. I wear my mask.
Yes, exactly.
I don't care what you do.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear my mask. They're packing you up like sardines. I mean, why would you not want to wear a mask? I mean, I couldn't even understand why they're fighting about something so silly, but they're fighting about it. So yeah, I'll definitely, masks are still important, right?
Yeah, and they're only fighting about it because they have a place to voice noise. So they're voicing their noise.
Yeah, fighting for fighting's sake, right? You're right. Okay. All right, Miss
Thank you.
Daphne Maxwell Reid. It's definitely been a pleasure. I am so grateful that you've come on at the Transform Your Mind, to transform your life show and imparted some of your wisdom. What was that?
We transformed somebody's life.
Yes, we did. We did. And that ending regarding the door situation is classic. It's classic. I've never heard it before. And that is beautiful. And someone listening will start paying attention to doors, including me.
Excellent. Excellent.
Including me. All right. So before we wrap up, any last words?
Just be well. Take good care of yourself and find some joy.
Yes, I agree. I second that. Find some joy. It is the fruit of the spirit. So find joy and happiness. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you, Daphne. Thank you guys for tuning into the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life podcast. If you're watching this on iTunes, please remember to rate and review. A transcript of my conversation with Daphne will be on the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us, and would have links to her website. So thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.